implementation of the 13th Amendment and provincial council elections are critical, says Indian External Affairs Minister in Colombo. Prime Minister Modi invites President Ranil to visit India. Professionals take to the streets against unjust taxes. Police obstruct university lecturers. Regulation of Election Expenditure Act does not affect the local government election, says Kiriella. Treasury Secretary tells the Supreme Court that financing the election is challenging due to low revenue. Control price introduced once again for eggs.
First up in local news, a tragic accident took place in Nurelia this evening, and students who were travelling in a bus involved in the accident are not among the fatalities and are out of harm's way. Director General of the Disaster Management Centre, Major General Sudhanta Ranasinghe, confirmed to Newsfirst that school students are not among the fatalities reported following an accident in Randala, Nurelia. 7 people died in the accident, and 6 of them were those travelling in a van, and the other was a 3-wheeler driver. The accident took place when a bus carrying a group of students from Thurston College, Colombo, collided with a van and a 3-wheeler along the Catty Road in Randala, Nurelia. Director General of the Disaster Management Centre, Major General Sudhanta Ranasinghe, said that 41 students were admitted to the hospital and all of them are all out of harm's way. Meanwhile, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says that the full implementation of the 13th Amendment and an early provincial council election are critical. He held a joint media briefing with Foreign Minister Ali Sabri in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, on an official visit to Sri Lanka, held a joint briefing this morning at the President's office with President Ranil Wickremesinghe also in attendance.
We felt strongly that Sri Lanka's creditors must take proactive steps to facilitate its recovery. India decided not to wait on others, but to do what we believe is right. We extended financing assurances to the IMF to clear the way for Sri Lanka to move forward. Our expectation is that this will not only strengthen Sri Lanka's position, but ensure that all bilateral creditors are dealt with equally. While doing that, we also know that Sri Lanka's pathway is one of a strong economic recovery propelled by greater investments. Here too, I have a clear message that I will be sharing with the business community. India will encourage greater investments in the Sri Lankan economy, especially in core areas like energy, tourism and infrastructure. We count on the government of Sri Lanka to provide a more business-friendly environment to create a powerful pull factor. I am confident that the gravity of the situation is realized by policymakers here.
The Indian External Affairs Minister also elaborated on developing Trincomalee as a hub for renewable energy.
Energy security is today one of Sri Lanka's most serious challenges. A search for solutions must necessarily encompass the larger region. Only then will Sri Lanka get the full benefit of scale. This country has enormous renewable energy potential that can become a sustainable source of revenue. It has the capability as well for Trincomalee to emerge as an energy hub. In its support for Sri Lanka, India is prepared to be a reliable partner on such initiatives. We have today agreed in principle on a renewable energy framework that would take this cooperation forward.
Dr. Jaishankar commented on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution as well.
The President briefed me on the question of political devolution and his thinking. I shared with him our considered view that the full implementation of the 13th Amendment and early conduct of provincial elections are critical in this regard. Durable efforts towards reconciliation are in the interests of all sections in Sri Lanka. I also spoke of the need to pay special attention to the requirements of the Indian origin Tamil community. I handed over Prime Minister Narendra Modi's invitation to President Ranil Wickremesinghe to visit India at an early date to discuss how our partnership can facilitate Sri Lanka's strong recovery.
President Wickremesinghe hosted the visiting Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar for breakfast and tea at his official residence in Colombo. During the official meeting held between the President and the Indian Foreign Minister, political, economic and social issues as well as investment matters between the two countries were discussed at length. During this discussion, special attention was paid to the debt restructuring program in Sri Lanka, which had received a positive response from the Indian government. The Indian External Affairs Minister recalled that in 1991, during the tenure of the former Indian Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, India had to face an economic crisis similar to what Sri Lanka is currently facing. He added that the Indian government overcame the crisis by pledging the government's gold reserves. Therefore, Dr. Jaishankar said that India has a good understanding of the situation Sri Lanka is currently facing and said that the Indian government will provide all possible support to solve the current economic problems faced by Sri Lanka. Thereafter, Dr. Jaishankar visited the President's office where the bilateral agreement related to raising the limit of the high-impact community development project implemented in Sri Lanka with the support of the Government of India was also signed between the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance Mahinda Siriwardana and the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagli. This agreement related to community development projects in Sri Lanka was signed in May 2005. Its project limit was 300 million rupees, which will now be doubled to 600 million rupees by the agreement signed today. The Indian Foreign Minister also virtually declared open the Academy for Kandyan Dancing, took part in the handing over of 300 completed houses on the housing project implemented in Sri Lanka with the support of the Indian government.
On the areas of bilateral cooperation, a number of important initiatives were concluded in the presence of His Excellency here at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. This includes signing off an MOU on Indian grant assistance for implementation of high-impact community development projects, which mainly focuses on socio-economic development infrastructure in education, health, and community development sectors. Minister Jaishankar also participated in 3 virtual inauguration ceremonies. One was to hand over the Kandyan Dancing Academy under the Sri Dalada Maligawa Heritage Project. The second was to hand over 24 houses each in Anuradhapura and Badulla district under the Model Housing Village Project. And the third virtual opening was to hand over 300 houses under Phase 3 of Indian Housing Project.
Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also met with the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena in Colombo to discuss bilateral relations, joint projects and Indian assistance to Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister's office said that views were exchanged between both sides on the proposed electricity connectivity between Sri Lanka and India. Prime Minister Gunawardena has extended an invitation for Indian investments in the country's renewable energy sector. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar had noted that since Sri Lanka is a country that benefits from wind and sunlight, the country has enormous renewable energy potential. He has also informed the Prime Minister that a public-private partnership to upgrade the Kalani Valley railway tracks from Colombo to Avisa Wella will be considered. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S.J. Shankar also met with opposition leader Sajit Premadasa in Colombo. The office of the opposition leader said that both sides discussed matters of bilateral interest. The opposition leader requested the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S.J. Shankar for India's continued support for the welfare of all Sri Lankan people. Dr. S.J. Shankar also met with former Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa in Colombo. Former President Rajapaksa said that he had successful discussions with India's External Affairs Minister and that they discussed a range of issues of mutual interest. Parliamentarians representing the Tamil National Alliance met with the Indian External Affairs Minister in Colombo. The External Affairs Minister said he assured the President the support required for the full implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Though we don't accept the 13th Amendment that is in the Constitution, no one can say that they cannot implement something that is in the Constitution. He also said that written assurances were given on debt restructuring. Dr. S.J. Shankar symbolically presented several buses that were imported to Sri Lanka under the line of credit. 600 Indian buses are to be imported to Sri Lanka under the line of credit this year.
One of the U.S. Navy's most prized ships, the USS Anchorage, is at the Colombo Harbor for a training exercise. News First, Ranmali Nanakara filed this report from the Anchorage.
The San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock USS Anchorage of the United States Navy docked at the Colombo Harbor on Thursday and will actively engage with the Sri Lanka Navy in military exercises for over a week. Both navies will take part in the Cooperation Afloat Readiness and Training Exercise 2023. USS Anchorage is a 208-meter-long San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock manned by 477 crew members, and she is commanded by Captain Keeler DJ.
In Colombo in port, we will be here. We arrived yesterday, we're here all day today, and we leave again tomorrow for the sea phase of the exercise, and then we will come back for the closing ceremonies. Again, pull in the afternoon, we'll be here for a full day, and then leave the next day for our next event. But we'll be here about altogether 10 days.
The USS Anchorage is the 7th San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock and the second ship in the Navy to bear the name. It was built by the Northrop Grumman ship system in New Orleans and has a sequentially turbocharged marine cold peel stick diesel propulsion system. The ship can accommodate 2 landing craft air cushions, 1 mechanized landing craft, and 14 expeditionary fighting vehicles. The USS Anchorage has a landing platform for all helicopters, as well as a Bell Boeing V-2 Osprey, an American multi-mission tilt-rotor military aircraft. The ship boasts of a crew of 28 officers and 332 enlisted sailors, while its marine detachment includes 66 officers and 633 enlisted personnel that can be expanded to 800. It also has maintenance facilities for 1 CH-53E heavy-lift helicopter or 2 medium-lift tandem rotor transport helicopters or several single-engined attack helicopters known as the Cobras.
This is the first of what will be a year of wonderful interactions between Sri Lanka and the United States on youth, on education, on business, and on security cooperation. And to have them here in January to kick off this year, to build our ability to work together, to focus on issues like humanitarian response to disaster relief is a great way to start a 2023 in which we celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and the United States.
The USS Anchorage was designed to support the 21st century maritime strategy, which is implementing towards presence, deterrence, sea control, power projection, maritime security, response to crises worldwide, humanitarian assistance, and disaster response wherever and whenever needed.
US and Sri Lanka shares 75 years of bilateral relations. Now, I am right in front of the USS Anchorage, which docked at the Colombo harbour yesterday. Now, this ship is here until 26th of January. From 19th to 26th of January, there will be naval exercises, which is called Cadet 2023, between US Navy and Sri Lankan Navy. And this will help us to strengthen our security relations and bilateral relations with the US. I'm Ranmali Nanayakkara reporting for News First.
The ship will depart the island on the 27th of January 2023 on completion of Cadet 2023.
Sri Lanka police today prevented a protest march organized by the university teachers. FUTA organized this protest march against the government's new income tax regime that imposes a tax between 6% to 36% for anyone with a monthly income of over rupees 100,000.
A protest march organized by the Federation of University Teachers Associations commenced from opposite the University of Colombo. However, when they reached the Nelumpokuna Theatre, Sri Lanka police prevented them from marching forward by blocking the road.
අර භාෂාව කතා කරනකොට සාක්ෂරතාවයේ අඩු මිනිස්සුන්ට පුළුවන් නම් ඒ රටවල ආණ්ඩු වෙනස් කරන්න මේ සාක්ෂරතාවයේ 97% වෙච්ච රටක පාලකින්ව හරි දිශානතේ ගෙනියන්න බැරි නම් අපි මොකද්ද කරලා තියන්නේ දෙයනේ
අපේ මූලික අයිතිවාසිකම් වලට එරෙහිව කටයුතු කරන්නට කිසිවෙකුට ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැත.
As Sri Lanka police continued to obstruct the protest march, the FUTA members boarded several buses and reached the Finance Ministry. The Federation of University Teachers Association then joined with the protest that was organized by the Professionals Trade Union Collective opposite the Finance Ministry. The Federation of University Teachers Associations, Government Medical Officers Association, Ceylon Bank Employees Union, CEB Engineers Union and several other professional bodies joined the protest. Vehicular movement along Lotus Road in Colombo came to a standstill due to the protest. Sri Lanka police and the riot police were also stationed at the premises.
The government has a social responsibility. When acting on the country's economy, we cannot operate like a finance company. The government's accountability to the citizens is not like how a finance company deals with its customers. However, we do not see responsible engagement from the government. The rulers are engaged in a program of seeking revenge. They are trying to play the role of Saradiel. They say that taxes will be imposed on high-income earners and relief will be provided to the less fortunate. We have no issue with providing relief. However, the tax system is unjust. We have no issues with paying the taxes, but the tax system needs to be transparent. We need to know what happens to the money that we pay as taxes. Professionals expressed their concerns over the matter for months. However, the government adopted a deaf policy. So as the professionals, we took to the streets. The government is in fear. They have closed the roads using police personnel. You cannot deploy the police and impose various regulations to stop the uprising by the professionals in the country against this tax policy. We have not looted the tax money of the people of this country and we have not committed any fraud. The rulers and their henchmen looted all the money. As professionals, we have always paid taxes. If we expect 10 professionals to join us, another 20 professionals will leave tomorrow due to this. It is the responsibility of the president and everybody in government to listen to what we have to say.
Sri Lanka police thereafter intervened to prevent a group of university teachers from heading to the Finance Ministry from Golface Green. Police announced the group to disperse when they reached the new Baladaksa Mawata close to the president's office. The group tried to move forward and the security forces prevented those attempts.
The people are in hunger. It is impossible for the baton to be used to keep those people from rising. The police can support in meting out justice. However, the police cannot serve justice. We as the university lecturers condemn the move made by police to take the law into their own hands.
Sri Lanka police dispersed the crowd without allowing them to head to the finance ministry. Thereafter, the groups at Lotus Road, Colombo and opposite the finance ministry also dispersed.
It has been revealed that the President summoned all members of the Public Utilities Commission, excluding its chairman, and held discussions on increasing electricity tariffs. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Srilankanatnayaka, said that if electricity tariffs are increased using a majority of the Commission excluding him, he will take the matter to court.
On Thursday, President Wickremesinghe held discussions with members of the Public Utilities Commission, Mohan Samaranayaka, Udeni Wickremesinghe and Chaturika Vijayasinghe.
A final decision on this will be taken at the next meeting of the Commission. The Commission has agreed to increase prices according to the procedure that has been established. A letter to that effect, signed by the Chairman of the Commission, Janakaratnayaka, was sent to the Secretary of the Cabinet. Yes, there are some debates on certain matters. Those have not yet been fully resolved. A letter signed by him has been sent to the Cabinet Secretary.
This was the response of the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission.
We informed the Cabinet Secretary of our position. We said that we cannot make an interim amendment of the electricity tariff. We also informed them of the procedure that we follow to increase electricity tariffs. We also wrote to them on what we can do as per the powers vested with us under the Act. We informed them that we cannot comply with what the Cabinet is asking us to do and that it's completely contrary to the procedure laid out in the Act. I don't know if they're making a request, forcing us or threatening us. The issue is that the unanimous decision that we took on the 12th was changed yesterday. Therefore, I believe that there has been some sort of influence here. If not, how can a unanimous decision that we took change in the span of just 8 days?
Meanwhile, a group of trade unionists gathered opposite the office of the PUCSL on receiving information that the Commission was holding a meeting today. This was the situation when PUCSL members Mohan Samaranayaka and Udeni Wickremesinghe were leaving the office.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඔබතුමාට මොකද්ද පොරොන්දු උනේ මේ සභාපතිකමක් දෙනවා කිව්වද නැත්නම් මොකක් හරි තානාපතිකමක්වත් දෙනවද අපිට අද සාකච්ඡාව මොකක්ද උනේ කියලා චෑමන් ඉන්නවා නෑ නෑ ඔබතුමා මම කමෙන්ට් කරන්නේ නෑ චෑමන් තමයි නෑ සභාපතිතුමා නැතුව ඔබතුමාලා සාකච්ඡාවට ගියා දැන් ඔබතුමා කියනවා අපිට සභාපතිගෙන් අහන්න කියලා මේක සදාචාරයක් ගහනවා ඔයගොල්ලෝ සදාචාරයක් ඔයා එන්න එපා ඔයා උත්තරයක් දෙන්න මොකද්ද කියලා මේක තියෙන සාකච්ඡා කරා විතරයි විඳින දුක දරුකෙක්කමවත් නැද්ද උදේනි මාත් කරනවා ඔබතුමා දේශපාලන මුක්කඩ යට ඉන්නවා නේද චෝදනාව නෙමෙයි තමන්ගේ සභාපති නැතුව මේ අනුන්ගේ තියෙන කොන්ත්‍රාත්තුවක් වෙන එතකොට මේ කියමු ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ මේ ස්ථාවරයෙන් බැහැර වෙන්න බෑ මේක ජනතාවගේ අයිතියක් ඒ ජනතාවගේ අයිතිය පිටින් ගන්න කරන්නේ ඔබතුමාලා බුද්ධිමත් සභාවේ එකට හිටියනේ මේ එකට පස්සේ කොටි මිනිහාගේ බඩු මුදලින් එකට ගත්තාට ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ. ඒ අයිති දේවල් පාර අරින්න එපා. ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ. ඒක ගන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. ඉතුරු පාගන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. ඒ පැනලා යන්නේ. මේ වාහන ඔක්කොම ජනතාව.
Meanwhile, the chairman and the members of the Public Utilities Commission were summoned to the National Council meeting held at the Parliamentary Complex. Officials of the Ceylon Electricity Board informed the Commission that a decision on the electricity tariff hike must be made soon.
News First with the people.
Sri Lanka's election headquarters.
When the regulation of election expenditure bill was passed in Parliament yesterday, the opposition alleged that it is another attempt to delay the election. Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kiriyala says an amendment made to the bill will not allow for the election to be delayed.
Here's a secret. Many thought that when this bill is passed, it would take several months to prepare the regulations. They said the election will be delayed due to the regulations. However, the ruling faction did not see the amendment to the bill. That is on the calculation of campaign finances. It was mentioned in the amendment. It noted that within 5 days of accepting nominations, the returning officer must summon the party leader, decide on the election expenses and publish a gazette. That regulation was made by an amendment. If the ruling faction saw it, they would have taken it off. Anil Kumar and I were aware of this. There is no reason to delay elections, citing the need to prepare new regulations.
Treasury Secretary Mahinda Siriwardena had informed the Supreme Court via an affidavit on Thursday that sourcing funds for the election has become a challenge. He had directed an affidavit to the Supreme Court in relation to the writ application filed by retired Sri Lanka Army Colonel W.M.R. Vijayasundara, who is seeking an order to delay the local government election. Treasury Secretary Mahinda Siriwardena had noted that all revenue sources locally and internationally have been crippled and managing public finances have become a very serious issue. The affidavit notes that as per the government's revenue sources, the monthly income is around 163 billion rupees and only 18 billion rupees remains to cover all the other state expenses. According to the Treasury Secretary, there is a deficit of 296 billion rupees per month for the government. He had noted that it is critical to prioritize the government spending in such a situation.
Firstly, the Ministry of Finance does not have the power to legally issue such a statement. There are some institutions that have that power, like the Parliament or the Supreme Court and the Elections Commission. The Supreme Court has asked for the Finance Ministry's opinion on this matter. The Secretary of the Ministry of Finance has made known our opinion on the matter.
ඇයි මැතිවරණය කල්දාන්න ඔබතුමල්ලා මේ වගේ මේ තීරණයකට ගියේ සහ මේ වගේ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ දීලා තියෙන නියෝග කඩ කිරමින් ඔබතුමල්ලා මේ වගේ තීරණයකට යන්න කටයුතු කළේ ඇයි?
අපි මේ සියල්ලම විශාල වැඩ රාශියක්
We are doing all of this amidst much hardships. We have never issued an order to postpone the election, but the court is asking us if it is ideal to hold an election now. We have to make representations in court, not on political grounds, but considering the economy of the country from the perspective of the Treasury. We have fulfilled that responsibility. If the Elections Commission needs money, we will provide it to them. We inform court on the possible effects that providing this money will have on the Treasury. We don't have the power to decide on this.
While the State Finance Minister highlighted the financial issues faced by the country, the Chief Government Whip Prasanna Ranatunga said the Provincial Council election will be held next.
අපි මැතිවරණයට බයයි නෙමෙයි අපි ඉතිහාසයෙන් නම් අපි හැමදාම මැතිවරණ වෙලාවට කලාවට තියපුවයි. අපි මේ මැතිවරණයෙන් පස්සේ අපි පළාත් සභාවට තියන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Cash bonds and nominations for the local government election were placed on Friday as well. The Sri Lanka Podu Jana Perumuna submitted their nominations for several local government bodies in the Colombo district. Minister Bandulu Gunawardena led the handover process.
If we are trying to delay it, I will not come here as a cabinet minister to hand over nominations.
The SLPP also submitted nominations for several local government institutions in the Kalutara district.
The deadline to submit nominations is noon tomorrow. Thereafter, the Election Commission will declare the election. We are ready for that.
Minister Prasanna Ranatunga handed over the nominations for the SLPP of the Gampaha district.
It is wise to delay the election if we are to cut down on expenses.
Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi handed over the SLPP nominations for the Ratnapura district. The Samagi Jana Balavege submitted nominations for 19 local government institutions in the Gampaha district.
The SJB will not pave the way for anything unconstitutional. The people have a right to call for elections. The entire country knows the government fears an election. I believe the election will take place in March or April. The government attempted to delay the election. However, the act ensures that will not be possible.
Chief Opposition Whip Attorney Lakshman Kiriyalla submitted the nominations for the Kandy district. The United National Party submitted nominations for all the local government bodies in the Ampara district.
Certain political parties are calling for the election. We have moved the country away from the abyss and taken it forward.
National Executive Member of the National People's Power, Sunil Handunetti, handed over nominations for the Mathura district. Handunetti will be contesting for the Mathura Municipal Council.
Ranil is a person who knows that theory well. We doubt whether these cash bonds will also be looted. If they are trying to delay the election, Ranil and his gang will not be able to step out of the parliament.
The National People's Power also submitted nominations for the Karuthara district. The Frontline Socialist Party handed over nominations for 6 local government bodies in the Colombo district.
Attempts are being made to delay the election. If they are trying to do that, they are playing with the people's right to an election. We will rally the masses against that.
Samagi Jana Balawegaya parliamentarian representing the Colombo constituency, Mujibur Rahman, resigned from his position as a member of parliament to contest for the post of mayor at the Colombo Municipal Council. He informed his decision to the Speaker of Parliament along with opposition leader Sajith Premadasa on Friday morning.
All the best.
Nominations have been called for the local government elections. The deadline for submitting nominations falls tomorrow. Based on the decision made by the working committee of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, I wish to inform you that in order to contest the post of mayor of the Colombo Municipal Council, I will step down from the post of member of parliament. I request the government to protect democracy and the rights of the people of this country. I am requesting the government to refrain from making any attempts to delay this election or create any obstacles to conduct the elections, and as a responsible government, create an environment for the Elections Commission to conduct the elections.
At the 2020 parliamentary elections, Mujibur Rahman secured 87,587 votes and came in third from the Colombo district to be elected to parliament. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya secured 6 parliamentary seats from the Colombo district, and according to the list of votes, the seat left vacant by the resignation of Mujibur Rahman will be filled by MHM Fauzi.
Will elections be held before the 10th of March 2023? 50 days more.
SJB MPS Marika expressed the following views on the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill.
පෙරේදා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේදී සම්මත වෙච්ච පුනරුත්ථාපන කාර්යාංශ පනත පිළිබඳව
There is a wrong impression about the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill among the public. Ranil Wickremesinghe brought forth this bill to suppress the public and to suppress the people who protest and to take away the right that people have to speak up. At that moment, I went to the Supreme Court and removed all of those sections. It was brought in to include the drug addicts and drug smugglers. This is not a bill for Ranil Wickremesinghe to suppress the people. It should be clear that it was passed only for the rehabilitation of drug addicts after we went to court and won.
සම්මත වුණේ අධිකරණයට ගිහිල්ලා අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කිරීමත් එක්ක ඒක සම්මත වුණේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මත්කුඩු වලට ඇබ්බැහුවන් පුනරුත්ථාපනය කිරීම සඳහා පමණයි කියන එක පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕනේ.
A control price was imposed on eggs again. The Consumer Affairs Authority said that the maximum retail price of a white egg has been set at 44 rupees, while the maximum retail price of a brown egg has been set at rupees 46. And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.